Good afternoon. My name is Amelia Burr, and this is my oral presentation on my informative paper for my English 111 class for Charles Dickerson. My informative paper was about the racism in the criminal justice system. In my informative paper, I spoke about the different forms of racism, one being in the criminal justice system, dealing with the courts and how they differ their sentences for African American versus whites. I also spoke on the difference in the juvenile delinquents with the African Americans and the whites, and also I spoke on the three campaigns that were very big, which was the Black Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter, and the White Lives Matter. From a credible source, I stated that it was once stated that a justice system which tolerates injustice is doomed to collapse. I spoke on statistics from the crf/usa.org website that said, for example, a Bureau of Justice Statistics analyst showed that if current incarceration rates remained unchanged, 32% of black males and 17% of male Latinos that were born in 2001 can expect to spend time in prison during their lifetime. This compares to only 6% of white males who will go to prison. African Americans currently make up 12% of the U.S. population, but today compose 40% of all the prison inmates and 42% of those being sentenced to death. The other form of racism I spoke on, which was the juvenile population, this was with the juveniles. The different crimes that they commit are larceny, property crimes, burglary, motor vehicle thefts, and arson. Statistics show that African American youth are 2 times likely to be arrested for crimes as a juvenile than a Caucasian youth. It has been said that the geographic profiles are the main reason for the higher percentages in African American and juveniles. In 2011, African American youth were 269% more likely to be arrested for violating curfew laws than white juveniles were. This was stated from a source that was called the Sentencing Project, that was taken from all over the United States. I also spoke on the form of racism that was shown in the incarceration rates that was differed between African Americans and Caucasians. A huge factor in this significant amount of incarceration rates were the social and economic classes of African American versus Caucasians. It's rooted that in high absolute level of incarceration for minority groups, which are mostly African Americans, and the racial disparities in incarceration rates. In the area of high incarceration rates, prison admission and return have become commonplace in minority neighborhoods, labeled by high levels of crime, poverty, the family instability, poor health, and the residential segregation. The racial disparities in incarceration have tended to differ the life and chances of civic participation of African Americans than any other race. By summing this up, basically, my informative paper was on the racial in the criminal justice system, because over time there has been so many different eras that have showed the difference between whites and African Americans when it comes to their crime rates, the incarceration rates, and how it's handled. Speaking back to the Black Lives Matter, the White Lives Matter, and the All Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter campaign was originally started basically to show their grieving process of when one of their own get killed. And then the White Lives Matter come to play when white people or Caucasians were getting upset because blacks and African Americans were getting more sympathy for theirs getting killed versus the law enforcement. And then the All Lives Matter come to play when people wanted others to know that everybody's lives matter, not just one person's, not just one race's, not just one sex's. So this is my oral presentation on racism in the criminal justice system.